Shaun Alexander, my friend, the forward writer of Field Guide for Genuine Community, and oh yeah, NFL MVP. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Shaun, my friend, for joining me today.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. You know, I was really excited just to put my hands around the real hard copy. I know you've put so much work into it, but it's such a needed tool for so many people, especially just talking about community and real family. So I'm thankful that you wrote it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for, you may have written the best part, so folks can decide on that later. So, but what does genuine community look like for you and for the Alexander family?
You know, I think it's always about having a real intimate conversation, being able to look into somebody's life and then being able to challenge or encourage it to keep on going for Jesus. You know, unfortunately, we live in a society where everybody can play the game and look polished, but not really show how messy life is. And so you articulated very well that real family is messy. Everybody's got cousins, not none of us, but cousins that have done some things that they would be ashamed of. And instead of ignoring it or shaming them, real family is about coming together and being willing to go through all of it, the goods and the bads, the championships, and even the times where you know that you've messed it all up. And so real family is not scared to go through all of that together.
Yeah, that's good. And I've been in your house. I've seen how your family lives and just people coming in and out. And there's just an openness and a hospitality and generosity. What are some of the hardest parts of genuine community? And then what are some of the most beautiful parts that kind of keep you guys going with that life that you guys live?
You know, some of the hardest parts is, well, you hear most people want to take their pastorship off, or they want to take their ministry hat off and just rest. That's not really the hardest part. The hardest part is when somebody wants to be fake, you know what I mean? And so the hardest part of it, anything, is when somebody is living a lie. They fall into the persona known as, the artist formerly known as, and that becomes hard because you can't help but be human and say, well, gosh, if they lied about that, what else are they lying about? And that's a hard thing to go through. But the greatest thing is when you see growth. You see a person that fully didn't believe that they were who God called them to be. They fully didn't believe inside them was enough to go and impact the world or even make other disciples or even conquer the old demon that used to be always on them. And so excitement is seeing them mature into who God's created them to be. And the battle is when they fall for the facade that says who they are wasn't already the perfect person to be in the family.
Yeah. I love that answer. You've obviously had a long history of people playing on teams together, pursuing a goal together that's greater than any individual. Mm-hmm. How does that team mentality fit exactly what you're saying as far as needing other people alongside us?
Well, you know, it's taken time for me because, of course, I'm still maturing in that, but people don't always have the same talents and they don't have the same positions. And so usually that becomes the biggest issue. They start comparing each other to each other, and comparing always ends in disaster. You know, one of the things I always tell my kids is don't compare, compete. And what does compete mean? It means you play your role at the highest level that you can. And a lot of people say, well, I'm competing against this person. Well, you got to be careful. Now you just compared yourself to what that person's doing, right? Competing is here's my responsibility, and I'm going to go do it at a high level within me and the gifts that God's given me. And so that's how I look at church family. Hey, don't compare yourself to somebody. Go be you to the family and do it at a high level.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I know as you wrote the forward, as we worked on this project, trying to draw out of going like, hey, it's actually worse if we're all exactly the same. But if you have your gifts and, you know, you're just thinking of your own literal household, Shaun, if all of your individual kiddos and Val and everybody, if everybody was exactly the same,
be a mess.
Y'all be killing it. Y'all be killing it in some things, and then other things would be a mess. But the way that even your household lives and the way that your new church plant lives as well, that beautiful picture of everybody bringing their gifts together is just an awesome picture of this genuine community.
Yeah, you know, we love the fact that we have different cultures, different ethnicities, different how people were raised, different jobs, different giftings, different skill sets, different types of families. Some are really big like mine, and some are just small. Some people are like, I don't know if I ever want to get married. You're like, wow, but they're all part of the family, and that's when it becomes beautiful. Different struggles that people have struggled with or are struggling with now. And different things that they've conquered, then other people would just be like, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to conquer it like that. That's the beauty of family, is that everybody gets to come in and we get to bring glory to God for where we are and where we are about to go.
Yeah, it's good. And speaking of where we're about to go, we're all coming out of a year where things have felt more divided and isolated. That kind of stuff feels a little bit different in Northern Virginia and Texas than it does in some other parts of the world people are watching from. But what's your hope for the church, your own church, and the global church as we continue to come out of kind of this COVID season?
Yeah, my hope is that people have real relationships. I mean, it's so powerful to know that you can be yourself. You can actually talk what's real. What are you really thinking? What's really going on in your life and job and family and all that? I really liked, you gave it a different title, but I how I am. I like to give it different titles, but I liked the four. I call them the 4 lie groups. You had a different title for it, but it was. I'm going to grab it actually and look at it. It was the groups of people that are really not healthy for people to really grow in the Lord. And I wrote them down. One is when it's good for you and not everybody else. So in other words, you're looking for what's the most healthy group for you, and how damaging it is to your future. Another one is one that's a common for you. In other words, everybody kind of does something that you do, and how dangerous that is. A third one that really kind of rocked me was one that is not challenging to you. In other words, people don't get into your stuff. And the fourth one is when you shift your groups depending on the stage of life. Well, I'm a teen, so I'm hanging with teens, and I'm single, so I'm hanging with singles, and now I'm married, so I'm going to hang with married. Now I'm married with 3 kids, so now I can hang with people with 3 kids or more. Now I got 10 kids, okay, so I'm going to hang with a 10-kid group. This is my job. I'm going to hang with people that make this kind of money. All 4 of those groups are lying groups, because that's not really the body. The body has toes and elbows and knees and ears and eyes, and everybody's uniquely gifted and uniquely different. And so some things that somebody that's a part of your group should kind of bother you, because either they do it and, they're a nose, but they don't really quite walk right. It's like, well, they shouldn't. They're a nose, and when you get the right group, there's this healthy, man, that's so encouraging. That's so inspiring how well they do that. But this is also frustrating because they don't do this thing that I do really well. That is the making of a really good group. And so my goal for everybody is to get yourself in a real body, and then get yourself into a good inner circle that says, hey, we're different, but we're going to encourage each other, challenge each other, inspire each other to go all in for Jesus. That's real family.
I love that. And that's a lot of what this book is designed to help folks take some of those very first steps, or maybe some of the next steps, or maybe even overcome fear and desire to take a step in that.
Yeah, it's the greatest life.
Shaun.
It's the greatest life, right? I want to encourage everybody that even watches this little 5-10 minutes that we're talking. It is the greatest life to have people with you that know your weaknesses, can see the things that you can't even see about yourself, and still love you, inspire you, and challenge you to go be greater in Jesus. It's the greatest life.
Yeah. Thank you for your involvement in this. I love you, brother. I'm grateful for you. And I'll give you a chance to do your favorite sign-off for the interview.
Okay. Hey, love you all. Jesus wins. Finish the game.
There it is. Thanks, Shaun.